When it comes to class balance, Ironmace has proven to live up to their name when it comes to making adjustments. They aren't swinging a foamy little nerf bat around. If they see a problematic meta arising, they come down on the offending class with, well, something like an Iron Mace. And if you've been following around on the Discord and Reddit, there has been a continual meme of nerfing wizards while everybody complains about how powerful and annoying rangers are to fight. But at the end of the day, when you watch some of the pros like the Jay Griffias, you can see why wizard had to be nerfed. And when you're watching people like Repose, who's also at the very top of the leaderboards, we can see why rogues got what was coming to them. So there's a lot of speculation that Ranger's next. Bard has had some big nerfs, Rogue has had nerfs, Wizards have had nerfs, Fighter PDR has been nerfed, Barbs have been nerfed in terms of how two-handed weapon speed works and some of the buffs that the Wizards brought that were making Barbs really problematic. And we've even seen some Cleric nerfs in terms of spell scaling and more recently with the will changes so that they need a little bit more gear to get into really powerful healing spells and overall a slight boost though to some of their regular interaction speed. So there's been a lot of big class changes and we have even more big changes coming in just a few days. But it's good that Ironmace is taking such a big step with all their class changes. Ultimately, it seems like Ironmace's goal is to have good representation across all classes. And at the end of the day, the fastest way to get a pendulum back to center is to overcorrect. So expect nerfs and buffs to be big. They're going to make big changes because they know what they have in terms of their targets for where they want classes to be. And they're going to make some really big changes in order to get to those targets. And yes, that means they're probably going to over nerf classes that are overperforming because they want people to not play those classes. They don't want the flavor of the month rerollers playing. If you love that class, absolutely play that class, and that's what Ironmace wants, but they want to see numbers shift. And when you had lobbies in High Roller that were 100% rogue, they needed to make some drastic changes. So you might be feeling a bit of a sting if you're a rogue main or a rogue player after the recent changes, but don't worry because there's going to be a lot more changes coming up and things are going to be better. Also, this is why I think Bard took it took a really long time for Bard to get nerfed because people were complaining about the meta and how you had all these teams with a Bard in them. But at the end of the day, these were teams running with a Bard and not every team had one. Quite a few did. But if you looked at the overall scope of the game, Bard was still a fairly unpopular class. There's not that many Bards. Yes, they are contributing to a playstyle that a lot of people didn't like, and there's annoying things about the class. But I think they still remain very strong as even a melee skirmisher with all their self buffs because... And potentially a little bit over the curve, but it's partly because they're just not a very popular class. So because they're underrepresented, they get to be pushed a little bit because Ironmace wants people to play that class. They want to see how they work in different situations and different team comps, and they want to entice people to try it out. Similarly with the Warlock. Warlocks are incredibly powerful and arguably just straight up broken once you get a little bit of self-healing with that additional magic healing on your gear. But you don't see that many Warlocks around, so they haven't been getting a lot of attention because Ironmace doesn't really need to disincentivize people from playing a Warlock because there's just not that many. All this to say that in early access especially, expect class balance to really revolve around trends in the meta and what's popular, not necessarily what's overpowered by like pure number standpoint, but Ironmace is really trying to create a game that has even representation along the classes, or at least reasonably even. And yes, there is the current whisper in the wind that the Ranger is very likely to be next to fall, and we've all seen quite a few Rangers running around, which is kind of funny to me because way back in the day, Reddit was predicting that Rangers would just disappear off the face of the earth the second we limited their ammo and we added in the reload system. So shout out to that one guy on Reddit for saying I was dead wrong when I predicted Ranger was going to be absolutely fine with the ammo changes, because here we are. They're actually overpowered. So in a way, we were both still wrong. And at the end of the day, just keep providing feedback to Ironmace, but understand that they're a company that really values quantitative data over qualitative data.
Oh my
Not to say that
god.
they aren't going to watch videos like this or check out the Discord and the Reddit and get that general whisper in the wind, the zeitgeist, the feeling of the community through different comments and trends, but they really like looking at the data. They want to see how many people are actually entering the dungeon with each class, which weapons are actually being brought in with each raid, which items are being used, which items are not being used, and they're going to make those adjustments accordingly. So one of the best ways you can help the game, and we can all help the game, is just play early access. Play the game, have fun. It's a blast. I've been having so much fun with this game, and I look forward to the changes and playing even more. And at the end of the day, giving Iron Mace the data,
So like you
playing
say, it's like
classes,
an
if they over
overall
nerf it and you just stop playing
excellent,
it and
you
stop
say it's
bringing
like
it
only
into the
minus
dungeon and
7,
play
and
the
then you
next
get like
thing, Iron Mace will
or
take
if you
that
go
data
minus
and
10
they will
on, that's
make
like minus
changes
5,
accordingly.
and then
So just
like you
play
put
what
like
you
a
want,
breach on
have
instead of
fun
a
with the
reload
game,
on, that's
and
what it
that's
minus
what we all
15.
want. A game with variety that has a bunch of different playstyles, a bunch of different game modes that can all support that true hardcore spirit of a dungeon extraction looter that is Dark and Darker. It's an amazing game. We're all here to make it
Oh, I
even
shot
better.
you.
And I just want to say thank you for playing, thank you for watching,
And then
and
jump.
I will catch you in the next one.